Hello and welcome to part 3. Yes, the painting phase. Let's face it, and me including, we have been waiting for this one for quite some time. But anyway, we'll gloss over that. So this is where we left off last time, all the scratch building done, but either way. So first, before I actually crack on, I just want to say thank you so much for everybody that subscribed and all the very, very kind comments. I must admit, I have not had a single bad one. But anyway, let's work on the painting. So we might as well crack on with the priming first. And here I'm using a XF 80 something or other. It's the colour that normally is painted underneath Spitfires. So you'll guess that one anyway. But just testing here and then I start spraying. So give it an overall spray. And then I start coming into the little nuts and crannies. Ooh. But anyway, I'll just leave you to watch this priming video. Sorry about this bit, but yeah. Anyway, see you in a bit. And basically, that's what we have. Now, I'm going to crack on with the other side. So, bear with me, and I'll see you in a bit. So there we have it. We all know priming is the most boring job ever, but it serves a purpose. Now, as you saw from the actual video, the sped up bit anyway, I was thinking about the overspray and I didn't want it to be like sandpaper. As you can see, it's quite glossy there, but either way. And also, don't forget about the little bits, like I do, like a knob. Anyway, so the next bit is masking. Boo! If you don't like masking, then gloss over this one. Okay, so with a fresh blade, or as a fresh blade as you can, what you want to do is start off by putting the Tamiya tape onto the frame. So we're going to use this window here, and what you want to do is burnish it down with your finger, like so, by pushing down. Don't want to push all the way down to the frame itself, but we're going to do this with the cocktail stick. So start off from the centre, working your way out to the frame itself, and then just go nice and steady, to be honest with you. You don't want to push down too hard. The reason being is because you might actually go through the Tamiya tape, but either way, work methodically round all the way around. Yeah, do it like that. So, not trying to teach you how to suck eggs. Right, so before I actually crack on with showing you how I do my masking, I am actually blaming Lenny at RTB Models for me having to do all this. Yes, I'm blaming you, Lenny, because he said, "Oh, Rob, you're awesome at this. You're awesome. You're a guru at masking. Why don't you just..." Knob. Anyway, so let's just gloss over that, shall we? Anyway, so onto the masking. And ooh, perfect timing. Now, as you can see, that dark line that I'm cutting along, this is going to sound a bit weird, but bear with me on this one. The camera angle was pointing from top down and I was looking from bottom up. Now, my rule of thumb for actually masking canopies is that I have the canopy frame on my side and what I'm cutting out on the opposite side, so the actual window on the opposite side. So that way, I don't generally look into a bright light. I don't look into the sun. I don't look into any form of, massive amount of light whatsoever. I don't burn my retina. I just generally find a sweet spot so that I'm not going to blind myself, and then I can actually see the dark line and then cut it round. And it's just as simple as that, really. And if you get stuck, like you saw back then, an area where the actual tape is not going to come off, what I do is I just go back, burnish it back down, and then just cut round. And it's done. So, speeded up version! Whee! So I'm going to leave you with me doing this other one. So, cheerio, see you in a bit. Alrighty then, so now it's time to do the masking on the inside of the canopy. And some of you might be thinking, well, hang on a minute, you get a canopy frame for this, it's a different part, it gets glued in. Yeah, I know that, but I thought I'd show you how to do masking on the inside of the canopy. But anyway, the only downside is you don't get a canopy frame, as you can see all the way around there, but either way we'll gloss over that. So what you do get, like the outside, is a dot line, as you can see there. Now, the only downside is, well, it's not really a downside, but what you want to do is cut on the outside of the dart line, not 20 million miles away, right on the outside of it. The only way that, or the only thing that I can think of is the best analogy for this is like when light reflects through water. I had to think of that then, refracts. But anyway, so it basically changes where you want to be cutting. If you cut on the line or cut to the left of the line, then you'll cut too short and it'll be too small and then it'll just look silly. But anyway, so as you can see there, just cutting the other bit, just making sure you cut it nice and straight. Go nice and slow, don't push too hard, and it should be fine. And as you can see, it just comes off as a oneer and it looks pretty cool. But anyway, so I'm going to keep on doing that. I'll see you in a bit. Right, so if you now get into a sticky situation where you basically can't cut the other way because the canopy is actually in the way, what you can do is put the blade on flat to the surface, touching the surface, and then cut all the way up. And then that's basically what you need to do. So the next thing is the priming. So we're going to prime. And that's not a frame, you... Anyway, see you in a bit. Now we're starting to get somewhere. So using Attacker's C211 interior green. Yay. And this is basically the consistency that we're going for. Bit like semi-skim milk. Well, to be fair, it looks like it's gone off. But anyway, watching paint dry is probably the worst thing. But to be honest with you, it's quite satisfying and quite therapeutic putting paint down, I think. But anyway, this is basically the consistency that we had. I've not changed it, so as you can see, the actual paint is going down very well. So coming into all the nuts and crannies, I'm going to leave you here, and I'll see you in a bit. You know what? Are you going to say it, or shall I? You know what? Can I go first? Oh, bugger!
Bugger me.
Yes, admittedly, I sprayed it the wrong colour. So I slept on it and then realised what I should have done is sprayed it this, XF71, all along, like I said I was going to do. But anyway, so I've sprayed one of the sides already. I've not used the previous base coat as a pre-shade. I think it'll be a bit like sandpaper by the time I finished if I did. So just overcoating it and then just cracking on. So yeah, didn't take me back a lot of the time, but either way, I'm just happy with the way it came out, to be honest with you. Just really happy. So with XF71, what I'm going to do is lighten it up with H11 Guns paints. Guns is Sangio or whatever you pronounce them. And then I'm just putting it in until I get this sort of consistency. And then I'm going to do the highlights, I think. So with the highlights, what you want to do is spray all the areas that's going to remain green, which you've put in there. Obviously, that's a given. And then the lighter that you go, obviously you want to be spraying less and less. So at the bottom, the cockpit of the sidewall wants to be darker and the top wants to be a lot lighter. Especially also areas where the crew's going to be touching, they want to be quite weathered as well. So they're going to be quite worn. So anyway, I'm just going to leave you with me doing all these highlights and I will see you in a bit. Cheerio. now that we've done the base coat and the post shading, it is time to do the detail painting. And obviously I am doing here is the throttle quadrant out of Vallejo black, or Vallejo, or Vallejo, whichever way you want to pronounce it. But anyway, moving on. Yes, I am weird. Alright, we are cooking on gas now, boys and girls. So, looking at my black and white pictures, yeah, I don't know if it's going to be white, silver, yellow. I haven't got a Scooby-Doo. Not quite sure on what RF Electrics was supposed to be painted. But anyway, so I've painted all the black boxes, which should be black. And if I keep saying black, something may happen. Anyway, didn't I say earlier that I paint in layers? If that's the case, why am I not doing that? You are a complete and utter knob. Rob the knob. Anyway, so shall we just disregard this bit? And oh yes, that silver is model Vallejo Air that I painted on there. So yeah, moving on. Next is painting the white. So literally painting white wherever I need to, and especially where I need to paint yellow, red or blue as well. But to be fair, I don't know if this wiring here is supposed to be white, yellow or silver. But anyway, I'm going to shut up. I'll see you in a bit. Cheerio. Now for a bit of a change from actually brush painting and all this and the other, I'm going to paint the rudder pedals Extreme Matte Aluminium, or Aluminum number 438. So I've painted a primer coat black, matte black, and then I'm painting the actual base coat of the silver. Put a gripper coat on there and then two heavier coats, which to be fair, it's not rocket science to be honest with you. But if you're doing an actual full airframe, the wings, fuselage and everything, after painting it, leave it 2 weeks. It goes rock hard, to be honest with you. So anyway, left that. So next up is the pilot seat, and as you can see, I've painted a white base coat, and then I'm going to use Vallejo 950 black. And I thin it to a ink consistency, to be honest with you, the first layer, and just leave it to dry, and then I do another 2 subsequent layers, maybe a bit thicker. So anyway, I'm just going to leave you with this bit, and obviously don't forget to do the sides as well. To be fair, it looked like I was painting with a sweeping brush. But anyway, so next up, dry brushing with XF19. So what you want to do is load up the brush and take off everything off the brush. You want to leave hardly anything on there whatsoever. And if you think you have, go back, don't even try and load up the brush again. Just take it off and carry on going. So nice and steady, nice and easy. So I'm going to leave you at my normal speed. And I will see you in a bit. Cheerio. And with that done, I don't think it looks too bad, to be honest with you. Anyway, moving on to the seatbelts. Now, one thing of note is this photo etched. Remove it very gingerly because it is glued on. But anyway, when removed, we get an idea, or at least I get an idea, of how much photo etched I need to use. This one's going to be interesting. But either way, so the actual seatbelts themselves are all pre-cut, which I think is very nice. And the instructions at first glance don't look too bad, but as you'll later find out, they're not as great as what you were expecting. Anyway, so the navigator seat, I painted Vallejo brown, like whatever brown, I can't remember, and then went over XF57 buff. And then also make sure you get yourself a good pair of tweezers and a scalpel blade. And I'm using some PE scissors actually to cut the seatbelts out, just because I find it easier, and I'm a cheapskate because I can't be asked to buy some decent scissors. And when you remove the actual seatbelt from the actual sprue, I don't know what you want to call it, there's actually like tabs at the end that you want to remove, and then there's the backing sheet. And yes, these do have a backing sheet. It is self-explanatory and it shows you in the instructions, but this is where I said get a brand new scalpel blade and you can get onto the back of there. It has got like a 2-layer system to it. It's not, but I found out I was taking the wrong bit off. So just make sure you take the right bit off, and then it sort of removes like so. And this is the bit that you don't do every day with your seatbelts, especially the Edard ones. You need to scrunch it up into a ball. Yeah, I was a bit apprehensive, a bit nervous at this point. I thought, I'm going to mess this up. Let's face it, I have never used these before. And when I got to the end, I was happy. But at this stage, it was squeaky bum time. A lot of poo has just shot out. Yeah. So, anyway, carry on going, keep on scrunching, and eventually you will get there. So, next up is actually putting the buckles on. So, this is the bit where there's going to be a lot of gnashing of teeth and, yeah, swearing and all this and the other. So, because you've scrunched it up and basically made it all look worn and torn and this, that and the other, you've got to try and get it through that buckle, like so. And it did take me a couple of attempts to try and do it. This is probably my 14th, but either way, it did actually go in there, so it wasn't that bad. And there we have it. So you can actually move it upwards, like so, which I thought was quite nifty. And then the next bit is to put these bits on at the bottom, which glue onto the back. So don't glue onto the front, glue onto the back. And they are a nightmare to line up. So you've got to try and get it with your hand and sort of hold it in there and put the glue on the back. But let's face it, because of these are fabric, not metal, like a brass sort of stuff, what Edard use, I can't remember what they use. But either way, it does grip like a bastard. So the actual super glue, when it's on there, let's face it, it's not coming off. And then when you finally get it on there, you can just literally attack the top and bottom, and you can just shove some super glue behind the back of it, like so. So with that bit done, I kind of followed the instructions in a fashion. So what I'm doing here is I'm gluing it onto the back of the navigator's seat, which is self-explanatory, but let's face it, when it's glued on, it's on. I tried to move it, but I couldn't be bothered. So left it as it is, and I test fitted. And what I'm doing here is test fitting to make sure you can't see the back of it. And I know the actual cushion, the bottom cushion, is going to go on first, but let's face it, it's not going to be shown, so I'm happy with that. So moving on, next bit is to put this triangle piece on, and I'm just showing you here where it's going to go, and I'm going to put that on later, so I'm just going to leave that for now. You know what? You know when I said that the instructions, well, were a bit shite? Well, yeah. Anyway, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to adjust them. It was just confusing the hell out of me. So what I've written there is navigator. Hey, give that man a cigar, he spelt it right. Anyway, so what the confusion was, there's pilot written there and written everywhere, and navigator and all this and the other. But it's mirrored at the bottom. So it's same at the top as it is the bottom. So we'll write pilot here. Again, give that man a cigar. Woohoo. So what we need to do, seeing as that it's supposed to be navigator up here, we'll get rid of this pilot. Like I said, it's mirrored below, so we don't need it. Also, we don't need this bit because it's mirrored below. Anyway, so far what we have is navigator all the way down to there, and also pilot all the way down to there. Like I said, confusing the shit out of me this was. So now that I'm not confused, I can start building the upper parts of the seatbelts to go around the shoulders. So anyway, I'm going to show up. See you in a bit. Cheerio. Now that we've done the shoulder straps, now it's time to do the side ones for the pilot's and nav seat. So this is quite self-explanatory, not too hard to do, so I'm not trying to tell you or teach you how to suck eggs. So put the actual strap through the buckle and then put some super glue on the back and then just rotate round. And like I said, because it's fabric, it just literally bites like a bastard. And then I'm putting the end piece on and then threading the actual tie strap in there, so nothing, like I said, too hard on that one, and that is done. All you got to do is ×4. And finally, for the build sequence of the seat belts are these two bits, so you've got to do ×4 or ×2 of each, shall I say. They're not mirrored, so you can't get them wrong, so I'm going to leave you with me putting these together. It's just a case of bending some photo etched and some gluing. So cheerio, see you in a bit. So just to change the scenery from seatbelts, I thought I'd show you how to demask a canopy. And I bet you're all thinking, great, wow. But anyway, so demasking a canopy, it's not as easy as you might think. Now, one thing to note is that if the paint has bridged the gap between the tape and the actual side of the canopy, then you're into issues and you probably want to score it with a scalpel blade. However, the problem I have here is some overspray. Ooh. Anyway, what I've used is a cocktail stick and a cotton bud moistened with my own spit just to remove it. Ooh. Anyway, so moving on, I'm using the Pure Nail stuff to make a window in this part, if you remember from part 2. So what I'm doing is, it's basically like PVA, and I'm just forming a window and then I bake it, and then I put some more in there and then bake it again and then bake it again and then bake it again. So basically that's what I've done. And as you can see there, it's not perfect. It is quite, well, magnified. That's probably because I actually did it like a PVA window. But either way, I'm happy with it. So there. And with that bit done, it was time to install it. So literally just stuck it on with some super glue and then ran around with some Tamiya glue. So a bit of a touching up, but not too bad. Next up is putting the seat belts all together and making them look quite natural, I suppose. But what I have done is put the nav seat all together, and it was a utter ball ache to get it in there. So next up is the pilot seat. So what you want to try and think of is, what would the pilot do? What would the nav do to sort of manoeuvre his seatbelt so it would be easier for him to get into or wherever you, or make them more natural? That's what you're trying to aim for, to be more natural. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with me trying to make these bloody fit. Anyway, cheerio, see you in a bit. So, last bit of scratch building before we move on to the weathering. So I'm going to put the control wires onto the rudder pedals. I've obviously put the 2 bars that go down, and also I've drilled 2 holes, one here and one here into the Bombay. And using Infini wire, that's all I had, to be honest with you. But to be fair, putting these through the hole was a bloody nightmare. But anyway, managed to get it through. What you want to do is make a knot like so and then super glue it in. Also, I've got a hot tip for you.
I have given you a red hot tip.
I know, and there's nothing I can do about it now, is there?
Is if you glue some wire onto this, then it's easy to put through. Otherwise, it's like putting hot spaghetti up a cat's bottom. And I'm not going to tell you how I know that. And now it's finally time to get onto the weathering. Now, as you see here, I'm using light dust deposits from AK Interactive, and I'm putting this all over the instrument panel. Now, to be fair, I don't want to make this look like something that's just come out of an African desert, or it's just been left there for 20 million years. But either way, so this is what I ended up with before I started cleaning it up. So a bit too stark, a bit too in your face. So using anything I had, Q-tips or cotton buds, whatever you want to call it, just to remove it. And to be fair, this is what it looked like when I'd finished. So a bit more than what I was expecting. So I actually came in there later and then removed a bit more, so you can do whatever you want. And then after doing that part of the weathering, I used Abteilung's Shadow Brown to that consistency, using just normal standard white spirit in the mix. Ooh, in the mix, yeah. Anyway, so putting the wash everywhere, and to be fair, this is just on the neat paint, and the placards, I actually sprayed a flat coat over the top of them, so nothing too elaborate. One thing I will mention is when I do put the wash over the top of the placards, I use neat white spirit just in a vertical motion from top down, just to leave some streaking on there, just to make them look a bit dirtier, and blend them in, basically. That's all I'm doing. So anyway, I'm going to leave you with me putting a wash on there and then taking it back off. So cheerio, see you in a bit. And there we have it. That is the end to this video for the painting and weathering of the Mosquito cockpit in 1/24 scale. And yes, I bet you're all thinking, it's about bloody time. Yeah, I know. I'm thinking exactly the same. But I did have a clear vision in my head what I wanted the cockpit to look like at least. And after all the reference and the actual build itself, I don't think I'm too far off the mark. Which, yeah, I'm not saying that every day of the week. But either way, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video and all the rest. And I will see you on the next tune.